yeah, let's record this thing and I'll remember to share screen. Like I said, I've got to fix my one video from yesterday and re-upload it. If you part two from yesterday didn't come out, that I didn't share my screen. So I'll fix that this afternoon and get part two reloaded. So yeah, just to get used to these slicers, what I loaded in the 3D Derby car resources. View this as you guys see it, hopefully. I uploaded this file, this Ultimate Acura project file, which is my truck that printed over there, and the settings that I used. And so this is a .3 MF file, which is just a project file for this particular slicer. So that Ultim, I would search for like Ultimaker if you because I you don't have a. I mean, you can pin it to your desktop and see how long it takes them to refresh your computer, but Ultimaker Cura, what 5110 is the one they should have installed on your guys' computers. So I'm going to open this up, this app. I have mine pinned to my taskbar, but it usually stays there. So this one, I don't know what it'll do for you guys. I can't remember when if did it comes into this setting. It's going to be into my last use settings is what I have. Yours might come in. Does it make you verify an email or anything? Or have you guys even opened this? Anybody opened this program yet? Or does it just open up to like this? The only problem our MakerBot printer is I don't have a hook to a port, so we can't just wirelessly send files. We have to yeah, I just think they were supposed to install them over Ultimaker Cura. If you type that in your search, hopefully it finds the app. And then I don't even know if it makes you like sign in or do anything, if it just goes right to an open like does it just open up like this? Yeah, I can't remember if because even I'm not signed in on it, I guess. I can see that so I don't remember having to necessarily sign in to use it. Yeah, and ours, if it's gonna, yeah, if you're gonna want to, add a printer or set the printer. Ours is the Ultimaker method is the type of printer. Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of interested in what, yeah, just kind of trying to, there's a project that you can load just to see if it loads, which is the one it is an Ultimaker method printer.
It'll
I,
have to like set up, you have to click on non-network.
yeah, I don't have it hooked up to the network, so it's just going to be, we're going to have to, hey, Kelsey, we're going to have to, just feed it with our USB drives. And one thing I'll say is I have noticed that I mean obviously I'll save my projects that I work on in here on my USB drive, but whenever I plug mine into it works fine to like load my USB file onto the printer. It just has a front port for USB, standard USB on the printer. Every time I bring it back to my computer after I've plugged it into that printer, it thinks my thumb drive is corrupt and it has to rescan it and fix it. It's never had an issue, but what I'm saying is maybe I have a couple of crappy thumb drives that I don't mind circulating here. I'm thinking that once your project's done and you're ready to actually print it, I'll circulate a few thumb drives that you can just load it on that drive and then go plug it into the printer. And that way, if there's something that corrupts and ruins your drive, it doesn't ruin your drive that you have all your work on. So, and that's what actually how I do mine too. Like I keep everything like you guys do on my good thumb drive, and I back it up every 8 weeks. I'm pretty good about that. So if you haven't done backups, definitely do backups of your drives. Someplace it's safe, but um, I just don't use that one to plug into these printers because I would hate for them to like corrupt my drive and not be able to recover. I haven't had that issue yet, but so I will circulate. If you have just a kind of a burner thumb drive that doesn't have much on it or anything that's on it, you wouldn't care if you lost. You might want to bring that one in to save your project when you're ready to go plug it into the printer. And that's just for this Ultimaker method printer. The other one which is a different slicer. It is hooked to a network, and so you won't have to do that. You can just send it from your computer. So, but I will bring a couple more thumb drives in that are just kind of garbage ones that you can save your stuff and go plug it in. Because once you plug it in, it just takes a minute to read it, and then you can actually unplug it and it'll print for 15 hours or whatever. So yeah, make sure it's an Ultimaker method would be the one we'd want. It says it's a MakerBot method, but MakerBot. There we go. That's a weird saying, but so I think MakerBot is an older company that Ultimaker now owns. So Ultimaker method is the one that I have here. And then what I would do is I'd go and download this particular file here. And it should come with just the settings that I use. So if you download that Ultimaker Cura project file, I just downloaded it. Now I should be able to find that if I'm in the slicer. I don't know what else you got to set up though. And I've only been playing with this semester a little bit because I haven't used it too much. But what I'm doing is when you bring that in, I think the settings will already be set. So I don't think you have to like choose. I mean, I've got my printer loaded there. The next bar over here is what I'm using. Ultimaker Tough is just what we're printing with. I'm actually just using a PLA and I'm calling it Tough because otherwise it likes to use proprietary names and filament on its spools, but I've cheated and just respooled other filament on their spools, and so it doesn't really know what it's printing with, but it is just PLA, and I'm not using any support, so I'm only using one of the. It does have a two head extruder, which is why up here I have two options, a one and two, but I'm not using. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm just gonna. I don't know what all you'll have to set here necessarily, but I'm just gonna bring in that file. So if I'm going to say file and open a file, Ultimaker method is what hopefully the printer is that's selectable, or if you go to add a printer or look for a printer, I'd be looking for the Ultimaker. Oh yeah, because you'd come in here and you'd say, oh, it's an Ultimaker printer. Yeah. And then sign in, blah, 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 blah. I don't think, yeah, what did you guys do to, I don't think you have to sign into Digital Factory. What is manage printers? That's if I'm going to get rid of one. Printer would you like to set up? An Ultimaker printer. Is it just add a local printer? No. Add a non-network printer right here. Yeah, this is the one we got to expand this because ours is not a networked printer. So it'd be a non-network printer. And it should be Ultimaker method is the one that I would select here. And then you just say add here. Mine has now two. But really that's the only one I would add is the Ultimaker. Yeah.
I was like, I put all this individually, that's how I'm trying to. You just download the thing and then open it up. Run.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've never used slicers, I think it does take a little while to get used to their format. They're all kind of similar, but they all have a little bit differences. So it always takes me a little time to get familiar with what they. But generally, you have to pick your printer just so it knows what the footprint is and how big it can print, and so your it needs to know if your models are going to fit. So it's critical on a slicer to pick your printer style that you have, and then that's all I needed to do. And then I don't think you're going to have to do anything here. But I'm just using the print head one. This is what this is I've got two different spools and two different extruders on this printer that I can use, but I'm just going to use one. The support material that I have has not been great at printing. I would have to troubleshoot it just a little bit more, and I don't really like it anyway. I can just use the same PLA to be my support. And so just using one head and one type of filament is what I'm going to do. but as far what I'm interested in is if you bring in that file. So I've downloaded this file from Canvas here. I downloaded it, so it's in my downloads now. There's my Cybertruck file that I've downloaded from, and I just want to bring this in. So I'm just going to go to the slicer and load that file here. Up here is where I should be able to load, save, and open this thing. I just want to open this file and go ahead and search for it. I'm going to search for it in my downloads, right? And there it is. So this file, I'm going to say open. Open as a project or import the models from it. I just want to open it as a project. This is what it does to me is it comes into this and it just says printer settings, Ultimaker method, profile settings. I don't think there's anything I would change here. Material settings, tough, PVA. I'm going to say open this. And this should hopefully load a little car on its side, the Cybertruck. It does? Sweet. Then I like my 3D mouse for even using my slicer because it's easy to orbit around this thing. Yeah, it's actually just positioned this way. I tried it to print it flat as well, and I tried it on our other printers. It's just because my most critical thing is to get a nice hole through for the axle to drive the nail in. So this like printing it on its side requires a little bit of support material for sure, but that doesn't matter. It gets me a better true hole through here. That held up a little bit better and didn't have a bunch of support crap in it. So and they've printed good on their sides. And then so that's how I've laid mine down. And let's see here. What do I want to do? And then it's gone. I don't know if there's a home button here. There probably is some home button, but maybe it's even down here. Down here in the lower left, I think, are like some views. Yeah, there is like down in your lower left, there are a few like preset views that you can toggle through if you lose yourself. Um, and then if I select you have to select the model that's on there in order to open up some of the options that we have. Over on your left, you'll have some orientation options. So, we've got move, which you have to select it to be able to move this thing on here. If you move it off to where it looks like that, it means it's not on the printer area, and so it won't print. Sometimes moving mine has caused a little bit of issue, but oh, there it goes back to being pretty good. I don't even know if it gets into that shaded area. Yeah, it doesn't even like that shaded area. It's almost like it doesn't have the head space to print there. So it's really got to be in that lightly shaded area. But that's just moving it. You can rotate it. I'm not going to scale it. I'm going to use 1:1. That is a scale function there. So I'm just 100%. And oh, you actually just have to select your model. So if you're out here, you have nothing. So you just need to select your model to be able to know what you're talking about. Because you could load like a project could load multiple models on here, so you can kind of work with them independently of each other in a project like this. And so I only have the one model here, but yeah, in order to move it, which is kind of annoying, but what we can do, we can paint it. Rotate it would be if I want. I mean, you can just grab and rotate, or like I know rotate. You can also select a face to align with build plate. So this is how I'll usually select a face if I would want to set it flatter or something, if that works. Yeah, something like that. But it definitely doesn't print as well in that orientation. So reset is there. Oh yeah, now I'm way off here, but we'll just do another orient to face. Like that. I'll do a little rotate here. To me, it seems painful to have to move your model around with those little commands, but that's normal, I think. Oh, so I just essentially, I don't know if I'm in the same orientation as I started or not, but that would be a printable location on there. And then what I wanted to show you is that it should preload. So that's if I have that selected um, to mirror it. Really, I only just move it and kind of rotate it if I need to. Um, the next, the next thing over, this is where you're going to get to all the settings. Is far on the right. This drop down list is pretty extensive drop down list. Oh, it's long. So it should only be sent to have that one print head. It's the one that you're setting for, that it's going to do all the work. A few things that are noticeable is that like before you even expand that, you can see that I'm going to do a lattice type infill. So it's going to print walls, but it's not going to be like solid, even though mine's an eighth of an inch thick here. It's going to actually print a lattice type structure in any of this solid matter here. It says it's going to be 15% fill. That's adjustable though. This says that I have support structures on and that I have what does this last one mean? I wish it was, I can't remember. Looks like a download button, but I think it's whether I have like a raft or a base underneath it. So I have printed mine with a raft, and it's just because my side profile it needs some support structure anyway for it. But if I walk down through this, so this is where you spend a lot of time is like kind of nerding out over the individual settings of this. There are recommended settings. If you just toggle that, it would be back to the base settings. But what you can see is what I've played around with. Anything that on this list that usually has this blue little arrow here means that I've made an adjustment to it. And I've toggled on some boxes. So I've made some adjustments where those blue arrows are. The blue arrows would reset us back to the original settings. And you can see that I've messed with not too many, but I've messed with a few. So let's go. I'll just talk through these a little bit top down. But most, just because getting used to one slicer, you'll get used to some others. And this one can work for multiple different printers, I believe. So I think it's a free download on a home computer. I don't think they charge anything for Ultimaker Cura. They just probably spy on you once you download it, like everyone does. First, oh yeah, but I have it on the expert settings here. Not that I'm expert at all, but right here, whether you're just setting, I tried to just use the basic settings. I was hoping that there were basic settings that I didn't have to do a lot of, but I found that I didn't ever have enough access to some of the problems I was having with my prints. They have basic, advanced, expert. All it does is kind of just load a longer list of parameters you can change. So this project should be on the expert settings here. And what they start with and all of these I think can like expand, I believe. Yes. You've got these main categories, your quality, I guess, is your layer heights, your line width. So one thing I've made an adjustment to is the tip size on your printer matters. You can change out different tips on the extruder. It is a 0.4 millimeter, which I think is a pretty standard tip size on a lot of printers. And I think the default setting would be to print your lines the size of your tip. So that would be a 0.4. I've just made it a slightly smaller, so you kind of, I don't know, create a little bit of an overlap in your, and so I've set that to 0.3. It's just a little bit smaller. I think it'll let me go down to 0.2, but that it'll take a little more print time if we change line spacing. But I've just dropped it by a tenth of a millimeter on my line width, which I think really controlled all of these. I don't think I had to change these independently once I changed the one line width. Um, let's see. I didn't change anything else there. Then you get into the walls and the wall thickness. I don't think I changed at all. And the wall count is 2, but all these are changeable parameters. These have worked well for me just to do a 2 layer wall count here. So I haven't changed that at all. I think these were automatically checked even in the basic settings that it was going to optimize its wall printing order, print thin walls. So I didn't change anything here. The skin layers is what I've messed with the most. I'm not getting a super great finish on the top, like on the skin layers, what I think would be your final finish layers. of your top or bottom. And so I have just set it to four. I don't remember what default was here. Let me, oh, just two. I've added a couple more skin layers. I don't know if I need four necessarily, but it could be what's causing my problem is that I maybe have still too many skin layers. But and then I have dropped this down for the top skin surface line width to be even, as small, almost as small as I can go. I think zero point 0.2 is as small as I could go, and it's probably point. It would probably normally match what my upper layers were, but I've got this as zero point 0.2. It's doing a zigzag pattern. I think that's by default. I've played with a few different ones, but it hasn't helped me or hurt me either way. This is checked. This seems to be monotonic top surface order. That has helped my finish just a little bit. There was some YouTube that people said that'll help your finish, and I have found that it does. And then the bottom surface skin layers, I really don't have any, and maybe I need to add some because my bottom surface skin will kind of be this red area underneath here, and I'd like it to finish nicely as well. I'll have to pull that. I haven't pulled that car off the printer to see if it's got a good finish or it still needs some adjustment, but um, got, yeah, I think some of these were just default that I never changed. Monotonic. Bottom top order. I have enabled the ironing. Which is kind of how it helps try to make a nice continuous surface layer, finished surface layers to kind of iron it out. You can kind of hear it when the printer does that. It just kind of goes back and forth, almost like it's just melting and trying to fuse the top surface together. So it doesn't look just like lines. So I have enabled that, and I didn't. I'm not only ironing the highest layer because I have a bottom layer there that I also want ironed, and I think it is doing that. So what else? Zigzag pattern, monotonic ironing order. I have that checked. I have my ironing flow at 40%, and I've played with that a little bit. I've gone up and it's got uglier. I've gone down and it's got too sparse. But all I'm just setting there is like how much percentage of flow is coming out. So it's not 100% flow in the ironing. It's like 40%. That has made a difference back, I don't think I'm perfectly dialed in yet, but I kept this as a 15% infill density, which is pretty low, which just lightens up your weight. It's zigzag. So there's just so many settings. I have changed the temperatures some too. They seem to be too low, and I was getting some sticking to the tip a lot. My filament was sticking to my extruder. I also had sometimes where it wouldn't even start printing well, and it would just like not even stick to the base plate. And so just increasing the temperature a little bit has helped. So I'm up to 220. There is a little threshold. I think 225 was as high as I could go. Final printing temperature just a little bit lower. The flow is by default will be 100%, but that has been super inadequate. I laugh at that thinking I had to at least be up to 125% to get a good flow. And that definitely helps prevent the tip from sticking to the filament as well if it's pushing out a little bit more. So I'm up to 125% of flow on, and I've tried to set that on everything. I even thought I had it here at one time, but it's only 5% difference, but this top surface skin flow. I thought I had them all at 125, but it's probably not a huge deal there. More than 100% though. So what made me laugh is I'm thinking if 100% clearly doesn't even work, at least with my extruders. Why don't they make 125% the new 100%? If you ever watch Spinal Tap, it's kind of a musician movie where it's total like farce of a show, but they're talking to it's a Rob Reiner film, by the way, and that's a tragic story that happened this semester. Anyway, Rob Reiner, super super popular producer and of movies, director, and he made this Spinal Tap show way back and talking like following a band. It's made to be kind of a documentary spoof on a fake band, but they're talking to the guitar player. He's in talking about no, the guitar knobs on an amplifier usually 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, but he's all tripping out because he's like, mine go to 11. And Rob Reiner in the film goes, because he's acting like he's the documentary filmmaker over this band, and he's like, well, why don't you just make the number 10 be the 11? And the guitar player is just like, well, mine go to 11, and So it makes me think of this, like why is 100% not 125%? Because clearly 100% just was failing for me horribly. So I needed more flow. So I turned that up. The speeds I have not changed at all. I've just let those be default. And then travel, I haven't changed any of the travel and how it moves around as it I just left all that default. I've left the cooling default, so I haven't made any changes there. Support either turn on or off. Where mine, I definitely need some support in here to support some of my uh the spans across my shell function. So I have turned on this support and I've just said normal. Um, Tree was significantly worse in time wise. But you can toggle you can always just like mess with these settings because what you do is you like set all this up and then you'll say slice it and it'll kind of give you a preview of that. So I'll hit slice really quick and it'll kind of show it if you preview it. It's a 15-hour print on this car, but it just kind of highlights like what the surfaces are it's going to iron, what the wall surfaces are. There's the support structure for it. So support is really just this support inside here, and then this is on a raft, and this will allow it to print and hold itself up. But there is quite a bit of support. It just breaks out pretty easy, uh, and breaks off. Doesn't, yeah, it's just designed to support it and be removable. But I've just kept it as normal. The tree would be like these tree branches that grow up in here to support these horizontal parts of your car that would need some type of support. Otherwise, they can't print in thin air. Let's see here. So that's all I've got. I didn't really change anything else with it. I let it, yeah, I don't think I changed any other thing other than just toggling on that it needed support. And I just said normal. And then I toggled on the build plate adhesion, which definitely helps it not slip and go. And to me, it helps get it probably adds an hour to the whole build just to build the raft. And so I've chosen raft. It's just I tried a few different ones, and every once in a while my filament wouldn't stick to the build plate, and it would jack up in the first couple layers. So I have just turned on the raft and allowed it to print a little longer and build a little bit more support where it sets. But it tends to adhere it better to the build plate, which you'll get that problem a lot in 3D printers where, if you don't the print can fail right off the start, just not sticking to the build plate very good. And so, yeah. So I've got the raft setting, but all you have to do is toggle one on different. If I chose skirt or brim and you did a preview, it would show. Let me just do that. I'm just change it to brim really quick. And then I'll slice it and it probably saves me an hour. Not even that much. Actually only like 20 minutes or something. So it still needs that support to hold up the car. So to me, the raft, I think this helps a lot of people not have their print like slip, and that brim almost like builds a border around it. I think a lot of people use brim when they do their prints. It kind of locks in once the print starts for the car. It just helps it not like peel off the build plate or slip. But I haven't had too much problem adhering. Only if I don't add a raft or don't add some type of a build plate adhesion, then I have problems where it doesn't quite stick to my build plate. Small parts are worse. I think large parts with a lot of surface area tend to stick a little better. So I've chosen the raft there. And I didn't make any other changes to the raft. It's printed good just by toggling it on. And then below that, I haven't messed with any of this too much. I haven't messed with, we're not doing any dual extrusion, haven't messed with any mesh fixes. But not to say I shouldn't, but so that is this slicer. And then what you would do is to save it to once you had your car on here and because you can just swap, I can delete this one from this file and bring in another model. I should show you how to do that. Maybe I will once I finish my next car. But once you brought your car in here, kind of had it oriented how it wants to go, check through to see if you've got about the same settings that I have here. And then we would be ready to print your prototype. And you would then save it to your disk. You need to have your thumb drive plugged in, which I don't have mine. Mine's actually plugged into the printer over there, but you plug in your thumb drive and then just toggle which one you want to save it to that drive. And then I just would remove my drive here and go plug it into the printer. And then the printer will just, it has a place you just look for the file on your USB and then you just hit print. Gives you a couple warnings like make sure the build plate's clear and it'll go to town. So when you get to that point where you're ready for a prototype print, that's how we'll proceed to do it. And I have a couple colors over there. I don't care what color. It's easy to swap out the color. I have three different spools. I have a gold. I have like I have a little bit of blue and yellow left, and then I have like raspberry and blue. I think anyway, yeah. So there's a few different colors to choose from. I don't care which color we would load. They're all the same material. They're all just PLA. So yeah, so that is that slicer. Now I'll show you the other one and see how it works for you guys here. So the other one should be a desktop icon here somewhere. So I'll finish up my spiel here real quick, but I wanted to look at both slicers. It's GrabCAD print. GrabCAD print is the other slicer for the back big. I don't have it turned on yet at all, but I just wanted you guys to open it and see what it makes you set up because I can't remember. And just this you may have to do multiple times because I think if it gets wiped, it won't remember the settings for it. Or maybe not. Maybe it doesn't get wiped. But so if I open GrabCAD print, this is for the Stratasys. One thing I should say, let me back up just a minute and talk about how you even would load your model because I kind of skipped over that real quick. Let me open Inventor and start with that because you would need to do a little conversion on your model here, or save it as another file type to be able to upload it into either one of these slicer programs. So let me just open one. I'm going to open my I will open my Cybertruck model, which is just this one right here. Yes. Not the assembly, but just the model. So yeah, I mean, I have the assembly, which has the wheels and axles, but when I go to send the print, I'm just looking for the part file or the model. So I'm going to open this. I'm outside of my project. That's okay. So there was my original model. Obviously, it's just an IPT part file for Inventor. So the first thing you need to do to get ready to go into that slicer is save it as an STL file. So it's just an exportable file that we can do here. So I would go to my file once my car is ready, and I would do a save as, or an export, sorry, an export. And what we want to do is a CAD format, I believe. Like I don't know what all formats we have here. Yeah, CAD format. I'm going to export this, choose CAD format here. And then I would have to pick that I want to save this as an STL file. And so I would pick STL file here. I can just leave it my same name as my IPT part file. It's a different file type. And I would save this like right by wherever probably in my part file area. Or, you can make a new folder that has your 3D print. It depends on how you've organized your folder for your car. Like let me look at my folder real quick. I did build assemblies, drawings, parts, and pictures. So I could make it like a 3D. Depends on where you want to save it. Sometimes I might just save it right here on the just not in a folder, but right here. Wherever you want to save it, just know where you've got it saved. So if I said, oh, it's the Cybertruck STL file, I'd say save. So I'll save that one out here, not in any particular folder. But if you wanted to build a 3D print folder, you could, just so you know where your STL file is. So now I should have exported that to that file type. And so I'll load that in this other slicer now. So I can't remember if you go into GrabCAD, I don't know what it goes to first, or if it makes you register an email. I don't know if I'm signed in here on this. It's like whatever I've done once, that's all I've had to do. But you're going to have to load the type of printer for it as well. So it's kind of similar, but it's a little bit different. And I think the 3D mouse in this particular slicer is way more sensitive for whatever, especially once I load a model. Or I think where it goes crazy on me is when I'm trying to look at the preview of the print and it is really sensitive there for some reason. Um, I think it's fine out here with just a model, but it's once I slice it. So what was I going to say? There should be a place to add your printer. Mine is already loaded. Oh, it's down. Maybe it's down here. Mine says disconnected because it's not in, but maybe down lower right is where you might have to, if you're in here, is pick the type of printer so that it knows the footprint of our printer and our build plate. Ours is the Stratasys F170, I think. Is that what I have there? Yeah, the F170. So the type of printer that we would have that would, so the dimensions would be correct, would be the Stratasys F170. And because I already have it loaded, maybe it's not another one on here. Let me know if you can't find it though. But this one is a network printer, so this one should be your computer should have access to send a file directly to this one. Of course, it's not on. And that one takes about a 2 hour time frame to warm up. It prints at a lot hotter, at least for ABS. It prints. Uh, it's got to heat up the chamber there, and it's a little bit bigger chamber, so it seems to take an hour and a half or two to get up to temp before it starts printing. Sometimes once we start printing, I just leave it on around the clock just so it's kind of at standby and ready to go. Um, but it should be an F170, and let me know if you guys can't see it. And mine might not be there because I've already selected that printer. F1's gotta go. Oh yeah, you won't die. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be once you're more ready. What I was going to show you is that yeah, we definitely have to set the same. We have to get set up to our printer, which it might recognize that there is a network printer available. Might recognize that because it says disconnected. But then you'd have to bring in your model. It has to be that STL file. So the first thing to me to do to start fresh would be to bring in a file, like to add a model over here. So I'll add my model, and then I would go through and find like where I'm storing my model. So that my CAD one or my Cybertruck I just put somewhere here in my lab and derby car. Right there. It shows that it wants to open like it's a Cura, but this is the STL file. Once I this file type is what I'd be looking for. A standard what? Tessellation language STL file. That's the one I'd want to open. And it brings it in. What you'll notice with this particular printer is it has what is called like a purge. This printer does use two different filaments. It has the type of so its support material works really well, and I've never tried to not print with it. So it's a dissolvable one. It has to go in a tank to dissolve it. But so I let it use both the ABS filament is what we'll use here and the support material. But what it's going to do is it's going to build this little purge tower with you. It seems like when we're working with a network printer and we're sending our files over there, there's not a way to, I don't think, I haven't found a way to delete the purge tower, but it's a really small, it doesn't use much filament to print the purge tower. So I just let it print with it. However, here I would orient my car similar where I like this slicer, maybe I'm just a little more familiar with it. So, um, I haven't had to do, you don't have to do near as much like customization for this printer. I feel like its default settings are pretty good, but um, I would definitely print my car on the side again here. And then I kind of work, it's funny, we don't have the pro settings, so any of the pro stuff is not stuff that I can adjust. I think you have to buy that. But what I can change. I actually, for whatever reason, I always work this up from like bottom up to the top. And it's just because it's like the orientation of the model first or the scale of it. And then as I work up, I decide what support structure I want, and then I slice it. So it's kind of, anyway, I feel like the best way for me to manage the specs on this slicer is just to work it from bottom up. The scale I'm going to do is 1 to 1. So it's 100% scale. I don't change that. And then to move it is to position it. Yeah. What I do the same way is I usually orient the plane to the build plate that I want, which I think is this one. So movement, I tend to actually just click on this and move this around here. And then I do orient, I will pick a face plane, orient face to plane is how I generally will orient this. And it will let me pick a face, I think. Hold on a minute, maybe. Maybe I can get I don't think it'll let me modify it unless I'm on there, but what I want to do is be able to get into this plane, a nice flat plane that I want to orient to. Let's see, orient face to plane. Yeah, I think it looks through the build plate anyway. I want to set that as the bottom. That seemed to set my car down nicely oriented to plane. So I tend to orient my car like this in this particular slicer, use that orient face to plane setting, pick the plane you want oriented with the build plate, and then I would work this up. Arrange. I don't think I do much with the arrange tool. Anchors. I do not think I select anchors. Stabilizers. I don't think I mess too much with stabilizers. Um, the support settings it's a little bit different. Smart, I think, is good. I think it is what it is. It'll just pick for me and what I need. But 11 by 8.5 by 11. Oh yeah, I do have some in that little cabinet right there. That one, yes. I think I have both, but I definitely have a few. Well, I don't know. I think I don't know how many there is on it. Oh, oh, yeah. I think I put a whole box in there. Small. The last one. Yeah. All right. What was I gonna look at? I was gonna look at,
Just really quick,
yeah.
per chance I started a quiz that I don't have time for. Can I pause for that?
I'm not sure um I can give you another attempt if it messes up. So whatever you do, if you just like turn it off and get out of it, I can turn on another attempt. So absolutely.
Thanks.
Is it on chapter? Yeah, just get with me when you need if you need another attempt, just get with me and I'll open one up for sure.
It would have been mine.
For the theory.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's the first one, yeah, I will go in there and even add another attempt for you. Yeah. Because I don't know if it'll save your place or if it'll just like submit it. Yeah. Good.
I did,
Okay. Yeah, I
question for it, yeah.
don't have time. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll totally open up another attempt for you. So, because I think you have two, but I'll definitely open up. Yes. So you get both attempts if you want them. Yeah, so I end up using for my support settings. I feel like sometimes I use basic, sometimes I use sparse. I mean, I can leave this as smart right now. I just feel like it kind of builds maybe more support than I need. So sometimes mine is just basic, and sometimes I use no supports, but where mine is, I go ahead and use supports just based in what I need there to hold those horizontal planes that don't have any support underneath them. You just need support for like this. It just doesn't like to start these layers without any support. So what else do I have here? Oh, and I tend to choose, yeah, this is whether it's going to do solid. So this one is pretty critical. The model settings is kind of the percent of fill, whether you're going to do a lattice type fill. Like the other one's already kind of set that way. This one you can choose. It seems like this is always default. It's a pretty dense fill, high density. Still calls it sparse, but it is a high density fill. Solid if I need the weight and I don't want to have this lattice filled, which if I print this solid, it'll probably more replicate it'll match the weight that's in what Inventor is telling me. And yeah, I can't remember if I printed my car solid when I raced it. I may have. This would be the lightest infill style, and you can even adjust the density down from here. Sometimes I just use the default setting and I just choose yeah. Either I usually choose that's going to be the lightest or I might be solid. I generally don't use the other ones. But our weight can figure we can once we start messing with our weights, we'll look into that. Which one will be the best? Tray settings, I don't think I have to change as long as I've set it up with the right printer. Printer disconnected is what it's telling me. And then this is where I show the slice preview here on this one. So I've skipped a couple up here and I'm up to the slice preview. But once you get something to load, I can help you get through this too, or you can go back to this little video to see what I'm looking at. This is where it gets really sensitive with my 3D mouse, and I always fly around a little bit crazy. But what this shows is the way it's going to, the yellow is going to be support material, and green is going to be the actual filament. Oh yeah, see, I just barely touched what I was looking to do is just get, where's my car? There it is. See, I don't love the smart settings generally. It tends to build like way more support than I need here. I don't need all this support on the outside of my car. I think I usually print with like the basic support settings because it just gets really aggressive in its smart settings. All the yellow does dissolve in the tank, but so I would say, and then I can view the estimate to see how long it is. It's actually only a 6 hour print. Oh, it's substantially faster printer. I was thinking it was longer than that, but even gives me how much ABS in inches cubed that I'm going to use, which I could use to calculate weight. However much ABS per inches cubed weighs, and I have 4.947 inches cubed. So there are I can get some good estimates depending on what kind of lattice structure I'm going to print with and what the and before I even print, I can usually get a pretty good estimate in this program. I think in the other one too. I might go back in another slicer and look at its weight calculations or its volume calculations. But I would not, I don't think I would, I'm gonna go back to my selection here. So it's really the support settings that or I gotta select my model to get it. I think smart, I've just never been super happy. If I go to basic, I'm gonna slice that. And get an idea of how much support it's printing for it and how it is. It does still want to fly around on me. Still wants to print some of that. me see what the sparse settings look like. Anyway, these programs take a little while to get used to, but so feel free to bring in your models and play around with them a little bit. Before you print them, I can take a preview of it if you have it up on your computer and you're ready at that stage. We can kind of troubleshoot some of the better settings. Or if I see anything. I think this would print okay. I don't think I was thinking I found a print that wasn't going to add all this stuff to the outside, but I think just the nature of mine, I think it does have to have some. I've got some horizontal holes in the end of mine here that have to be filled with support. So I think the reason why it's generating support there is because of some of my details in my windows and windshields and some of the angular features of my car, but it dissolves pretty good. It's just that the more support I have in contact with my actual finish, sometimes I get a little bit of a corruption to the two. It might corrupt my actual ABS a little bit where the support sticks to it a little bit, but it's minor for sure. It dissolves out pretty good. So, and then this tower is just going to print with it, but be throwawayable. So, that's it. That is the gist of our slicers. If you can get them set up. If you're ready to print one, let me know and I'll take a quick look at it and then we'll hit print. I'll bring in a couple of thumb drives that are I've already got one in here that's kind of garbage and I don't care if it gets wiped. So that's one that I use right now, but I've got a couple others that I'll bring in. Just leave them in here. I'll just leave them over by that printer and you can just grab one and load your file and then plug it in. Yeah, so cool. And if you have the other thing I was going to tell you is I'm okay if we want to print some stuff that's not our car yet. If you're not ready to print your car, but you still want to print something just to get used to the slicers, then I'm okay if you just go to, somewhere like Thingiverse. That's one place. There's other repositories for 3D modeling and kind of open access to people's designs. But Thingiverse, I'll search for it here. Thingiverse is just an open source where a lot of people put their designs on that are free access. I go to Thingiverse. You can just like search through all kinds of different printed stuff. And so if there's something in here you'd like to print that's not like huge, obviously, but something car size or a little bit small or smaller. Yeah, if there's something you would like to try of someone else's designs, I'm okay with you printing that too. So mostly just to get used to the slicer and looking through like a model on the slicer and messing around with it a little bit. So yeah, I haven't printed too much off Thingiverse. Oh, but I did. So, I mean, they have like a lot of different. Like I was able to get like an auxiliary spool holder. Somebody already built the. Uh, seems like I was able to find an auxiliary spool holder for this that I printed. I think somebody had a link to it on YouTube, but I know it was from Thingiverse. Let's see. It's amazing what people have uploaded to here to see, but I need to get one of these actually myself too. Anyway, yeah, feel free to peruse and get ideas from people. I actually need one of these to hold a spool, a little tripod for it to spool off and feed the auxiliary port. I need one to actually so I can take filament on one spool and spool it onto another spool and use something like this. But yeah, so I might print something like this. Anyway, yeah, feel free to look through. If you find something you want to print, let me know and we'll print it even before your car's done. That's okay. Like I want to get into a little bit of 3D printing and get you guys wanting to purchase one for your home. So, okay, that's it, you guys. That's all I'm talking through today.